We're gonna be ranking every single boss blind and balatro. As you can see, there's every single one. I'm pretty sure all of them are here. I just kind of looked up a tier list, and I'm almost certain every single one of them is here. And also ranks them from easy, fair, situationally difficult, tough, awful, and then literally RNG. All right, I'm just gonna go through these one by one. I have a little sheet over here because some of these I know what they do, but I don't know the names off the top of my head. Like I know this is plant, wheel. This is making the boss blind, a little bit extra chips, kinetic, or not what? Wait, what is this one? Psychic. Okay, I got close enough, right? All right, we're just gonna go through these one by one. That you also see on the side of the screen probably what each one does. So if you don't know what they do, I also have them on the side of the screen. All right, the hook. It discards 2 random cards held in hand after each played hand. Not necessarily super difficult. Oh gosh, why is that all messed up? All right, not necessarily difficult if you're playing hands like high card or pairs, and if you're playing a flush, you most likely will get it, and it should be able to just one-shot boss blind if you have a good enough setup for it. Probably put it, yeah. Well, it depends on its situation. If you have to draw 2 flushes and your flushes are your only form of scoring, then yeah, the hook is kind of gonna screw you a little bit over there because it discards 2 every time you play a hand, unless you can play it correctly. But if you're playing like high card or pair, it's not really that big of a deal. All right, the next one is the Ox. Playing your most played hand sets the run money down to 0. I'm not gonna lie, if you at least have 2 different builds, hopefully you're gonna get the Ox early on. And also I'm basing all of these off of if you can't reroll them, you're just gonna go straight into it. Like probably antes 1 through 8, most likely you're gonna encounter. Your econ's not gonna be like amazing at this point, and you're probably either gonna spend all your money in the shop before you go to the boss blinds, or play some other hand that would get you just as far as your most played. So I'm gonna put it at fair if you only have 1 good hand that you could actually play, but besides that it would be on easy. I wouldn't really see any difficulty with that. The house, first hand is drawn face down. I'm just gonna put this at easy. It shouldn't really be that big of an issue if at least you have a little bit of deck fixing. You know, ante 1, it's not going to be that hard. Ante 8, I really never see this boss blind to be that difficult. There's no it's gonna screw you over in some way. I think it's one of the easiest boss blinds. Just having the first hand drawn face down is really not that difficult, and you can discard 3 or 4 cards and sort them through suits and numbers to figure out what cards are really which. So it's really not that hard of a boss blind. All right, the wall extra large blind. Again, it could either be situation or tough depending on what ante it is. I mean, if it's maybe ante 8, it could be either one of these. Ante 1, I could still see the same thing. I'm gonna put it at tough if you counter it in the first 2 antes with pretty bad jokers. Ante 8 or ante 7 and above, it's really not that hard of a boss blind. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna put it situation difficulty, but I'm gonna put it above the hook because it really depends on where you even get this into ante. But it's not really awful or that difficult. All right, the wheel. 1 in 7 cards get drawn face down. This is even easier than the house. Mainly because you can sort the cards, and if you have good RNG, you could just have all your cards shown face up. It's super easy. If you can tell which cards you've drawn out of your deck, depending, it won't tell you that you drew them out, but you can see depending on the suit and the number. Super easy boss blind. I've never had a problem with it. It's just probably one of the easiest in the game. Arm, decrease the level of played poker hand by 1 hand level go as low as level 1 and are reduced before scoring. So it can't, if you want to reduce it, if you're playing a hand that's already level 1, I'm gonna put it probably easy as well. It just decreases, you know, played poker hands level by 1, and hopefully you can just get through it in one hand. If you have to go through it twice, then it may cause a little bit of score affecting, and if you're really depending on your levels, it could be a little bit hard. But it's at the back easy, because I think there would be a little bit of a challenge to it. I don't think it's like fair like the Ox, because it's just decreasing your level. We'll put it right here. We'll put it as the easy fair. How about that? I think it all depends if you're basing it off your levels. If you're really depending your score off of what level your current hand is on, that can get a little bit tricky, but besides that, it's not that big of an issue. The club. All clubs cards are debuffed. I'm gonna put this at easy. You really shouldn't be playing mainly based off of club cards. The only ones you should really be playing off of is either hearts, or basing your cards off of just pairs and hoping you don't really draw a spade. It really should not be depending your hands off of flushes the whole time. I do it way too much. But you really shouldn't be depending off of flushes all the time. Mainly, usually high card can be just as good or even better. Usually it is better in the late game. But you know, if you have something like the sun or the moon, I think the moon is clubs. Easy way to dodge this, and I can go for the heart one and all the other ones. The fish. Cards drawn face down after each hand is played. I'm gonna put this one at like in the middle affair. It's similar to the wheel and the house, but if you've already played a hand, say like if you're really depending off flushes, I'm gonna keep bringing it up as an example. If you're still depending off flushes, it can get a little bit tricky. These are completely, you know, based off chance, and this is only a one-time thing. This one can happen every time you play a hand. That's why I'm putting it in the middle of fair, because it's a continuous thing, and if your flushes or high card or pairs never score high enough, it can be a little bit of an issue. But once again, it's not really gonna ruin your whole run. The sidekick must play 5 cards. Not all cards need to be scored. It's hard to say if you're depending your hand to be like, you're depending off of like steel, like a lot of steel cards, or flushes, and never pull the flush you're supposed to get, and you have like 4 cards and you're gonna have to lose some of the cards that you need to play in the flush. It can be quite difficult. I'm gonna put it in situationally difficult for right now. It really just depends if you're playing flushes or if you're depending off of external cards that re-trigger the thing, or if you're needing money and you have a bunch of gold cards in your hand, and you're gonna have to lose a lot of econ because of that. It can be quite difficult, but it's easy enough where you can survive after it, especially if it's on early antes. It's not gonna be a huge issue for you. The gold, all spade cards. It's the exact same thing as the club. You know what I just realized? I got these two mixed up. I thought this one was spades. I'm probably gonna correct that. I meant to say I forgot what the tarot card is called. Sun, the moon, and then there's 2 other ones. I'm not even gonna try to think of it, but just get the sun or something else that can counter it if you're playing flushes, or pairs, and you draw like 2 jacks. That would get you past it, but one of them is the spade. Just use the sun, and you'll be fine. The water. Start with 0 discards. Now, this is one that is probably gonna be awful, and I'll explain why. This is probably one of boss blinds that I die to the most, and it's really because I just like to play flushes, and I do flush builds a lot. I really shouldn't. This won't really ruin your run if you're going for high cards, but the thing that most people struggle with is that you can't just get rid of cards to build your best hand and use your hands left over for econ. So if you're depending off your hands for a little bit extra money and you don't really have good econ jokers, it's gonna really screw that over if you can't score high enough on the first draw. If you draw something literally amazing, then the water would probably be situationally difficult, but it's just one that I've always struggled with because I play flushes a lot and I had to use my hands, and then I have bad econ after because I don't get enough money from the hands to build towards interest. So it's just one I've always struggled with. All right, the window. All diamond cards are debuffed the exact same thing for these three, so I'm not even going to go into it. The manacle, -1 hand size. It's probably could be high situation difficult. Flush builds, little tricky. Straight builds, full house builds, a little tricky to deal with. Besides that, it's really not that bad of a boss blind. If you have, paintbrush, shouldn't really struggle with this whatsoever. It's just kind of a boss blind that it depends on your situation. If you don't have that and you're depending on flushes, it all depends off of it. But it's really not that bad of a boss blind. No repeat hand types this round. Every hand played this round must be of a different type and not previously played this round. So you can't play duplicates. You can't play 2 flushes or 2 straights or 2 pairs. You have to play a pair and then a high card and then a straight and then a flush or something like that. Cannot repeat hand types. And I'm gonna probably put this at tough. It would be situationally difficult if you can, if you score high enough on your first hand and just discard a bunch of cards and get your best hand possible and just get through it in one shot. It's not that bad. It's another one that's like the water. You can easily just die to it, and if you're not paying attention, it's just a boss blind that literally comes out of nowhere and can ruin the whole run. The mouth. Only one hand type can be played this round. So this is kind of the opposite of this, and I'm just gonna put this at fair. The only reason for this is that you shouldn't be relying off of 2 different types of hands, unless it's like anti-1, probably through like 3 or 4. After that, you should always be depending off of one hand for quite a long time, and then maybe switch it up. Like most people start off with either flush and pairs or something like that in that range, and then probably build off towards high card or flush 5. So it's a lot easier to deal with. I'd probably still say Ox is going to be harder because it just ruins your econ if you have to play your best hand possible. But besides that, you can easily get through this boss blind. All right, the plant. All face cards are debuffed. Not one I'm gonna put at literally RNG, because I'm probably gonna put it at tough and like the easy part of tough. Most people who have face card builds aren't really gonna have a struggle with this unless it's past anti-8. Anything like anti-8 and before, they always rely on the jokers more than the cards themselves, so it's really not of a boss blind. I may even put it situationally difficult because act builds, bunch of other stuff like flush 5s, and not going towards face card. You really shouldn't do that. You should always play face cards. But if the flush 5 is, or flushes or full houses don't contain that, not really that big of an issue. And also antis, like low antis, not a horrible boss blinds. Yeah, probably right here. I think that's good. The serpent. After play or discard, always draw 3 cards. Okay, I've never had a struggle with this one. It can ruin flush builds pretty badly if you can't score high enough on your first hand, or I think like high card is amazing for serpent. Anything else, like anything beyond 2 pair, probably, or like 3 of a kind, probably 3 of a kind is the barrier. You should really play with this unless you can score high enough with the flushes. Yeah, I think it all depends on your situation, but I think it's one of like the easiest boss blinds if you have the correct stuff. I would even put it up there, but I think it all depends on your situation. If you have to play flush, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult. But besides that, it's a pretty easy boss blinds. All right, the pillar. Cards played previous this ante during small or big blinds are debuffed. It probably fair. It goes back once again if you're playing a lot of cards, like in straight builds, full house builds, it's gonna screw you over. Anything besides that, high card all the time, not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. So I'll probably put it at the easy, like at the top of fair, pretty easy boss blinds, no struggles with it. They need to play only one hand. I think it's gonna be like probably okay, I'm gonna put it at the back of fair. The only reason I would put this at the back of fair is because when you get to the needle, your score is actually lower than what you played on the antes. It's either the same or lower than the 2 previous rounds, and can even be lower than the previous boss blind ante that you played in the previous ante. I repeated myself so much there. But if it was the same, like if it was like you're playing ante 8 and you had to score 300,000 and playing on like plasma purple stake or gold stake, I think 100% this is like literally RNG or awful. But besides, like the fact that it can lowers the number of like your previously played rounds and you can score high enough, it's really easy. I am probably gonna put it on fair, like right here. I think that's good for the needle. All right, the head, all heart cards, goes back to the same thing. There's no talk about it. Just get the moon or some other card that changes your suit if you absolutely need to use it, and just go on with it. The 2, Fluce $1 per card played. If your econ's good enough, or if you're just playing high cards, not that hard. Probably at that, like somewhere in the middle here. Like all these are pretty much like on the same level, except for probably Ox. Just because it sets your money down to 0 and really ruins the econ. And this could actually, the tooth can make it a little bit harder. If you enter the boss blind with $0, you will actually go into the negatives. I think I'll put it at the back. I think it will be a little bit harder. It depends on your situation. If you have $0 entering this boss blind, it's gonna screw your econ over a lot. It doesn't do what the Ox does and just set your money down to 0. Literally put you in the negatives like credit card. Yeah, I think this is a good spot for it just because of ruining your econ, and you need like good econ to continue playing. The Flint, base chips and molds for each played poker hands are halved for the entire route. Now, if you have like no levels, it's gonna be tough. Like I'm probably gonna put it at high tough right now, just because if you're playing like a low level hand and you have a level 1 high card and only can get like 15 to 7 chips, I mean, you're just making your deck so much worse. And if you have no base modes or anything and you're playing on plasma deck and don't have any chips, it's such a tough boss blind to get through. But if you have a high enough like level on your played poker hand and you're like, we're just gonna get through this, it will not be an issue. It just depends on your situation, and most of the time it's in a pretty bad situation. Early on, ante 1, it's fine, and ante 8 is probably fine. Anything between that, I think it's a lot harder to get through this boss blinds. Alright, last one for the normal ones is the mark, which is all face cards are drawn face down. So this is a 100% one, but only depends on base cards. It can be determined if you're having trouble on suits. Having number cards in your hand helps with this a lot. I don't really see any situations that this could be a problem unless you're depending off Flush House, which I wouldn't recommend, or Flush 5 with a bunch of different other stuff. But if you're playing this 1 through 8, I mean, not really that big of an issue. So probably high up. It just depends on the situation. It's not like the wheel or the house. It depends 100% of the time on cards, and he'll flip them all the time. Alright, this is where bias stuff is going to come in. Because the next one is Amber Acorn. And these are special boss blinds because these can only happen every 8 boss blinds. So only on 8, 16, 24, and then 32. And then you won't play on 40 because there's no anti-40 because no one has ever reached it, because you play Naniv and anti-39 is trying to score higher than Naniv, and you can't score higher than Infinity. Now, Amber Acorn is flips and shuffles all Joker cards. I'm gonna put it at literally RNG. Only for one reason. If you're depending 100% off of Brainstorm, Blueprint, on where they are 100% of the time, it's almost impossible to tell which cards go where. I mean, you can do the technique of grabbing one of the Jokers and holding on to it so it doesn't get shuffled, so you know exactly where one of the Jokers are. But it's so RNG based, and it's also very situational. If you're not depending off that, fine. But anything past anti-8, this can be an extremely awful boss blind, and we're saying that you cannot reroll it. You cannot reroll it. I'm gonna literally say it's RNG. Alright, Verdant Leaf. All cards debuffed until one Joker sold. This is gonna happen on anti-8. We're gonna say all cards debuffed until one Joker sold. If it happens on anti-8, not a huge issue. I'm gonna be honest. 16 and 24. It's almost death, pretty much. If we cannot re-roll it and we just get the worst luck with our vouchers and just can never get it, it's another RNG based one. We're basing this, don't get mad, we're basing it off of if you cannot re-roll it. Oh, this is the easiest boss blind because if I got on anti-8, no, it's RNG based. If you have to not the ability to re-roll it, most of the time you're going to be able to re-roll it. It's not going to be huge of an issue. But if you're absolutely having to play it, it's RNG based. Violet Vessel, very large blind. So this one times your base value by 6. So if you're playing on Plasma deck on anti-8, it's going to be 1.5 million. Which really shouldn't be that awful. I'm going to put it at tough, but at the back of tough, because I still think it's a bad boss blind and one of the hardest to deal with. It's not like which one? This boss blind, because what does it times it by? Only 4. So instead of, it could be what, 1.2? Actually, this would be 1.8. This would be 1.8 million, and this would be 1.2. So you'd have to score an extra 600,000 chips. It was a little bit harder than just the normal big blinds or increasing your boss blinds. It's a lot bigger and can be a lot harder depending on what cards you're playing, what Jokers you have. It could be situational, but I'm gonna put it right here since it only happens every 8 antis. If it's anti 16 or 32 or what, yeah, it's 16 or 32, it's probably one of the easiest in the game. Crimson Heart, one random Joker disabled every hand. It's gonna be RNG based if it's happening before 8 and you're really relying off of your Jokers. I'm not really gonna go into much detail about this one because I've gotten screwed over by this so many times and I just ran on about it. So Crimson Heart is gonna be RNG based. Which one should I put as the hardest one though? Okay, let's do this one. There's one card. This is, I didn't even say the name of it. This is Sarah Lane Bell? Versus one card to always be selected. Now, this one is probably one of the easiest to deal with, and honestly, I'm gonna put it at easy. Playing high card, amazing. If you're playing pairs, maybe a little bit situational. You're playing flushes, it can't. Okay, let's put it fair. Like, at the in the middle of fair, because flushes and straights can be screwed over by this one a lot, but it's super easy to counter. And if you couldn't reroll it, I think there's a little bit of chance you could die, but besides that, it's a really easy boss blind. All right, I think I would leave every single one where it is. Okay, maybe put you easier psychic. I think I put psychic easier, manacle. Okay, that was fine. Yeah. All right, this is my tier list. Let me know if I should have changed anything or if my opinions don't matter to you. But this is what I would rank every boss blind. As like a newer player, maybe it would change in the future, but besides that, I think this is a pretty solid boss blind. All right, but let me know if you enjoyed the video though, because this is the first video I've ever done like this, and I haven't really done much else different from this. I've just been playing balatro and I've been really enjoying it. Y'all seem to absolutely love the content anyway. All right, let me know, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video.